Hello, namaste everyone. So my name is Arushi and I am the moderator for this session today. So welcome to our first session, our first episode in the Hinduism and Pilgrimage series. I'd like to start this introduction by talking about temples. So mandirs now have a central role in the lives of today's Hindus. Mainly associated as places of worship, temples enclose so many more marvels behind their doors. A temple is such a place which gives you experience that you seek, somewhere that you can take respite from your busy day, to feel closer to God, somewhere to be grateful or hopeful. They're also sacred gathering places, a pillar in auspicious moments and celebrations like weddings or community events in festivals. The structures of temples themselves also have so much beauty, and the walls of ancient buildings hold the history of times before us. In my opinion, the most unique part about temples in Hinduism is their versatility. They come in so many different shapes, designs, and even locations, from the long-standing buildings scattered around India and the world to the tiny altars we keep in our homes. So we are here today to take a closer look at these marvelous structures and learn some more context about the role of temples in the lives of Hindus. I'm joined today by Dr. Dinesh, influencer who has spent many years looking into the history and meaning of the temples which surround us. With an academic background, including a doctorate in cultural studies, Dr. Dinesh has shared his findings in 16 publications magnifying Indian history, culture, and temples. His dedication to exploring and preserving Indian culture has earned him over 50 prestigious awards, such as the Special Appreciation Award by the Department of Mythology, Academia Sinica in Taiwan. And he is also featured in the list of 40 under 40 rising and emerging industry experts in India. He has also founded a global initiative to share information about temples called Indian Temples Research and Media Services. And he is currently working on a video documentary about dance sculptures in the temples of Telangana with the Telangana government. As you can see, you are incredibly busy. So I'd like to take this moment to thank you for your time today. And we are extremely eager to hear your insight.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me for this session. It's actually an honor for me to be part of this incredible team that's in the Hindu society. It's a pleasure for me as well.
Okay, so let's get started then. I'll be asking you some questions, and if the audience has any other questions they would like to ask, feel free to type it in the chat and we can address them at the end. So for the first question, temples today. So why do Hindus practice idol worship?
Yeah, actually, when we talk about idols, we don't really worship idols. We worship the deity behind the idols. That's a big confusion that many of us don't understand. There is a difference between a murti or idol. Murti is the Sanskrit word for the same. And there is another thing called vigraha. Vigraha is where the deity resides. So, see, when we create an idol of, say, wood or stone or clay or any other material, well, it's only an idol in the beginning. But when we put it in the temple and we do the prana pratishtha is the ceremony where we put where we invoke deity to be part of that idol. So after that, it becomes vigraha. We worship the vigraha, that is the presence of the deity in that idol. So that is what we worship. Uh, the worship of idol is actually a mean to focus on our thoughts or on our devotion in a particular way. See, there are type of deities, two type of gods in Hinduism. One is Nirakar, the one who does not have any shape, doesn't have any particular form, doesn't have any particular color or any of these attributes. That is Nirakar. And there are which have a particular kind of shape, particular kind of body attributes, particular color and everything. So earlier worship only the Nirakar deities during Vedic era. So the natural forces like Indra was for the rains, Varun was the deity of sun, who is deity of energy, who provides us light and energy. There was Vayu, who is the deity of air flowing around us. So all these deities were worshipped. But in Puranic era, that is after 5th century, we started worshipping the deities in a particular form. So we developed Shiva, Vishnu, or Krishna, Ram. All these deities were developed after 4th or 5th century. So, or rather, before that, maybe first century, around first century. So, in last 2000 years, we started worshipping deities in a particular form. See, the thing is, uh, when we talk about deity, if we have to describe deity in a particular way, if we have to create a picture of deity in our mind, so only after that we can focus on deity more accurately or more properly. So that is why maybe our ancestors thought a need of for creating some idols or some particular shape and form for a deity. So maybe that is one reason. Also, another reason is see Hindu epics, the Purans or Ramayana, Mahabharata, or other such scriptures. They talk about different qualities that these deities had, and they give us stories, give us the important qualities that we should have in our lives. So that is what these epics were made for. Those stories were made for that purpose. So even when we are creating these idols of stone or wood, we are trying to embed these qualities of deities through that idol. So you can say this is an audio-visual kind of thing. So when we are telling story about the deity, we are only narrating it. But when we have a picture of deity in front of us, that is kind of a visual representation of the same concept. So that is one thing. So yeah, that's the reason why we worship idols. Obviously, there are many sects in today's time as well. Those who do not worship any idol, those who think, or those who worship only Agni. So for them, fire is the only god. There are different sects which only talk about meditation. So we are creating a picture of God within ourselves in our minds. So even that way, some sects perform.
Okay, that is quite that makes it very clear actually. I think it does make sense to try and give some type of form so that you can improve your concentration and just I do think it would make it easier for sort of that ability to channel your energy. So of course
Yeah,
that
exactly.
makes sense.
And
Um,
it's not just about Hinduism. In other religion as well, everyone may have different kind of way of creating a picture of their deity. So we create a picture using visual representation. Yeah, in some religion, in some sects, they prefer calligraphy to create an image of their deity. So like text in form of text, or some only create a temple or a monument, but with no idol of deity. So even that is one way of expressing their devotion towards the deity. Some express their devotion through music. Some express their devotion through dance and everything. But yeah, these are all different forms of expressing your devotion or expressing or creating a picture of the deity.
wow, that's so nice that there are so many different methods. Okay, so my next question is Hinduism is a very diverse religion where people are free to interpret and pray in whichever way they wish. Reflecting on those different forms of worship that you touched upon earlier, verbal chanting, meditation, havan, why should practicing Hindus visit the temple?
Okay. Hinduism is not exactly a religion, actually. Hinduism is a way of life. That's how many scholars define Hinduism. So, Hinduism doesn't tell us about one particular deity to follow, or one particular holy book to follow, or one particular way of worship. They just say everyone must explore their own way, but everyone can explore religion in their own way. They can reach towards spirituality. They can have a different spiritual view. So yeah, there are many different kind of spiritual views in our mind. Why temples in the first place? See, as I mentioned earlier, during Vedic eras, we had only worship of natural forces as deities. So we would used to create a temporary place for Havan. We would set up some bricks and create a Havan Kunda, that is a rectangular or square base, and where there we would invoke Agni. Agni was said to be the connector between the humans and the heavenly bodies above. So we would create Agni. Agni is fire. So we would create a fire there, and we will offer our sacrifices to the fire. So that was the way we used to worship in the Vedic eras. But when foreign religions started, or even before that, there was a need for society to come together. So for this purpose, temples were built. So temple is not exactly a religious thing. Yeah, of course, it's a place of worship. It's a religious place, but more than religious place, it is also a community place. So that is the most important part of temple that many of today's generation, many people in today's generation do not understand. That temple is also a place. So temple is actually a place where people come together and celebrate their lives. We do not only celebrate the deity, we also celebrate our own lives in temples. So if you notice in temples, there are different places like the many temples today, or even from ancient times, they used to run schools. So educational purpose was one purpose with which temples were built. They used to work as financial institutions, the same function that today banks perform. They used to work as judicial place. So the place, temple was the place where the king would come, and he will listen to the complaints of citizen, and he will give decisions. The temples also worked as trade centers in ancient times, and even today we see many temple towns in India and abroad as well that worked as a big trade centers. Temples provided agriculture support. Temples hosted big libraries. Even today, many temples have these libraries. Many temples, like the Golden Temple in Amritsar, they host a big community kitchen as well. So all these purposes were what temple was meant for. Now today, of course, we have different kind of institutes for different things. Like for education, we have schools and colleges. For judicial, we have judiciary system. For financial, we have banks. But yet, some functions are still performed by temples. Some social gatherings, social get-togethers is one major aspect of having a temple. Second thing, why one should visit temple? See, there is air everywhere around us. There is oxygen everywhere around us. But if we have to inhale the oxygen, if we have to breathe, we need our noses for that oxygen, for taking in that oxygen. Or there are mobile towers everywhere around us. There is mobile signals everywhere around us. But if we have to talk to someone, we will need a device, the mobile device, to catch that signal. So similar way, we need some medium thing that will connect us with divinity, connect us with the spirituality. So temples is the place that works as this medium that connects humans to the deity, to the God. So that is one thing. So basically, when we visit temple, we just do not just visit the deity, we just do not just visit the God who is residing in that temple. We are going there to celebrate the whole divinity as well as humanity, both sides.
Wow, okay. That was a very nice sort of analogy you shared there, where how the temple can be viewed as sort of the signal where you take that time out of your day to just feel more closer to God and be more spiritual, just like we have specific cues and specific objects to do all other things. So that was a very good perspective. Thank you. My next question is, again, we've discussed a lot about the versatility of temples as a place to take a pause, pray, or celebrate. And many people visit temples, at different times every day throughout the year. So how can one experience a temple thoroughly?
Okay, experience temple and explore temple thoroughly. That would be the first thing that I mentioned earlier in my earlier answer as well. Temple is a place to celebrate life. So every temple, uh, when we visit a temple, we can divide it in two parts. One is the deity-centric part. So that is the Garbhagriha where the deity resides. That part is called as Garbhagriha. So that is the deity-centric part. That is made for the god. And there are human-centric parts. So everything outside that Garbhagriha. So there are different mandapas, as we say. Let me just show you with this particular model. So this is a, sorry. So this is a temple model, and this is the part, the shikhar, the top part of the temple, and underneath it is the garbhagriha where the deity resides. So that part is deity-centric part. And if you can see in every temple you visit, there are multiple of these halls, so, some small halls, some big halls. So there are multiple of these halls. These are called as mandapas. So these mandapas were made with the purpose of celebrating human lives. So in Garbhagriha we are celebrating the divine life, the life of the deity. But outside that we are celebrating the human lives. So there is Ranga Mandapa that is built for performing different kind of plays or dance festivals or dance performances. There are Kalyan Mandapas. Kalyan Mandapa is Kalyan means wedding some languages. So it is a hall that is made for weddings, especially. Then there are different mandapas for the Vahana or the mount of the deity. The Vahana mandapa was built. So, when I visit temples, I try to visit every part of that temple, not just Garbhagriha, and understand the concepts of these various parts. So, when we understand all these different parts of the temple, different sculptures, there are outside on the walls of the temple, there are multiple sculptures. And these sculptures talk about the socio-economic condition of that time, the political things of that time, the local rituals of that particular area. So all these things we understand through these sculptures. So one must make a point to understand, explore every single corner of that temple, see it properly, understand what it might mean, and that way we will understand the temple in a much refined way. See, when we talk about darshan, darshan is the word that we use for going to temple. Darshan means to see. That's the simple Sanskrit meaning of that word, the English translation of that Sanskrit word. But what do we see? That we do not really think much about. When my dad visits a temple, he is more interested in the deity. He will just go inside the garbhagriha. He will go down to the deity and come outside. When I go to temple, I try to visualize. I try to see every single aspects of that pillars and walls and the sculptures, and then I try to visualize how they might have made it, how what this particular sculpture may mean, what story they are trying to depict here. When my son joins me visiting the temple, he is more interested in the facial expression of people around him. He will just look at different people who are standing there. He will just analyze what that person might be thinking, what is going on in his mind. He tries to analyze these things. When he looks at the pujari, the one who is performing the puja of the deity, so he will see his expression and he will try to analyze. So these are different kind of ways the darshan is supposed to mean. So one must do the things from different point of views. Every person may have different point of view. Every sculpture may be differently for different people. So if one tries to see all these things, see all these sculptures, that would be a big help in understanding the temple better. Now, second aspect that I would like to talk about in this part. See, Hinduism talks about the deity within. There is a God residing in our own hearts. So if God is there in your own heart, why should we go for pilgrimage? That is one question I am very often asked. So the basic purpose why pilgrimage practice started in Hinduism or in the rather in any religion, the pilgrimage is involved. So why that practice started was basically one has to explore the world around us to understand ourselves better and to understand our society better. So that was the concept. See, India is a very vast country, starting from Himalaya to the ocean of Indian Ocean. So it's a very vast country. There are a lot of different cultures, lot of different languages, lot of different rituals and practices and culture. And he is visiting a place with a different culture. So when one visits a different temple, one has to make a point to understand the rituals specific to that temple, the culture of that temple, how things proceed, happen at that temple in that region. So that is basic purpose of pilgrimage. if you see very closely, we have this concept of four dham, char dham. Hai. So four dhams are four holy places that are situated at four different points in the country. So one is in the north, Badrinath. The Rameshwaram is in the south. The Dwarka is in west, and Jagannath Puri is in the east. So they have made a point to have four places in four different corners. Same is with the 12 Jyotirlingas, the 12 holy places associated with Shiva. So the 12 Jyotirlingas are separated in different parts of country. So that way they have made a point to have pilgrimage places in different places of the country. So those are the two things that I can think of right now.
Wow, that makes sense. I guess you can really take your time and really absorb every essence of the temple to try and understand so much more than just simply seeing the idol. So I was also, it's also quite interesting to hear the bigger meaning behind pilgrimages as well, because oftentimes people often can view them as like almost a checklist that, oh, we must see this temple, we must see that temple. But knowing that you should actually enjoy the journey as well as the experience can provide a greater level of sort of understanding if you do go on these journeys. So my next question is, most of your work has examined the intricate details engraved within the walls of long-standing temples in India. So are there any commonly seen architectural structures in temples that you could explain their symbolism or significance?
Yeah, one thing that I already talked about was the mandapa. So, sorry. In every temple, this is the Garbhagriha, this is the place where the deity resides, and all these other parts are made for humans, made for different functions that are performed in the temple. So, like Kalyan Mandapa is for the weddings, and Natya Mandapa, that Rang Mandapa, that are made for dances and cultural festivals. So that is one part, one very commonly observed feature in every temple. The second feature that is very often ignored, actually there are hundreds of different elements that make the temples. I'm in fact writing a 3-book series about all these features. That would be called as elements of Indian temples. But because we are in short of time, we don't have a lot of time. So we will be talking about very few things. So the second aspect that many of us ignore when we are visiting temples. See, like I mentioned, many people go to the Garbhagriha and they go down to the deity. That is their only purpose to visit the temple. And even when we are observing the different sculptures outside temple, many people only focus on the sculpture of the deity. But there are one particular type of sculptures that I specifically would like to talk about, and these are called as Surasundari. Surasundari means the heavenly ladies. I think I will call them as Apsara. Apsaras. People may relate better to the word Apsara. So these Apsaras, I can't recollect the English name right now for the Apsara. I will just show you. So these are the kind of sculptures that I'm talking about. The heavenly girls. So there are many sculptures of these Apsaras or Surasundari, and they talk about how the women enjoyed their life. So there are who are actually fighting war with sword or bow and arrow or maybe mace or other weapons. There are apsaras that are busy dancing, music, so they will be playing some musical instrument. They are dancing to the tunes of music. There are some who are playing with animals, so they are sometimes sculpted with monkeys, sculpted with dogs, sculpted with other animals. There is one particular kind of apsara. They are busy in makeup kind of thing. So they are holding a mirror in their hand and looking at their own facial expression, and there is a smile on their face. So I'm very fascinated by this particular sculpture of Surasundaris. So why? Because they actually taught us how we should celebrate life. Like I earlier mentioned, temples is about celebrating our own lives. And these sculptures of Surasundaris, I will just show some pictures from one of my books. Uh, so, like, this is the sculpture I was talking about. She is holding a mirror in her hand. You can see there is a mirror at this place in her hand, and she is just setting her hair while looking at the mirror. So she is ready for for herself rather, because these sculpture very rarely show a male figure around them, and these girls are very happy with themselves. They are expressing. See, this is a sculpture of a Surasundari playing with a ball. So she is enjoying life at her in her own way. So this kind of sculpture, actually there are a lot to talk about that this particular sculpture, but yeah, these are the sculptures that I think we should explore when we are visiting the temple.
Wow, okay. So, are you saying that there are such Apsara sculptures around every temple?
Uh, yeah, most of the temple actually. The temples that are built in ancient times, say from 5th or 6th century, or rather, I will say from 8th century up to 13th or 14th century. So the temples that were built in this era, most of those temples have this structure. Many of them are now missing, might have been stolen. There are multiple of the structures that are now in the British Museum or the museums in USA. Those are stolen from India. But yeah, many of those temples still have these sculptures.
Wow, okay. I guess it's such a beautiful message that has been preserved in these sort of buildings, right? The whole idea of and taking time to enjoy the simplicity of life and all that. I just saw a very interesting question from the chat, which
Yeah,
I think we can answer now, if that's okay, because it's relevant to
yeah,
the question.
yeah,
And
yeah,
actually, I was
sure.
also asking this myself, which is, why are these sculptures mainly based around the female life? Why is it not also depicting males in the similar format?
Actually, in some temples we also see male warriors or male dancers, male performers, male musicians. So there are sculpture of male as well, but yeah, mostly female. The reason might be, I'm not very particularly sure about this, but see in Hinduism, uh, female body or female mind has always been worshipped as the symbol for fertility. So just the way we worship the land, worship the earth as a Bhudevi, the earth goddess. So goddess is about fertility. They provide us babies, not just babies. They provide us spirituality, because when Brahma wanted knowledge, he had to take help of Saraswati. When Vishnu wanted wealth, he could not generate wealth at his own. He had to take help from Lakshmi. When Shiva wanted to gain earthly what we call knowledge or things, he had to take help from Shakti or Parvati or Annapurna in different forms. When Shiva was at Kailash and there was no food at Kailash, and his ganas are the servants or the associates of Shiva. They were getting hungry and they wanted food. So Shiva had to come down from Kailash to Kashi. That is, there is a story about that particular transformation. So from heaven, or from higher place, he came down to earth. He went to a place called Kashi. We call it as Varanasi in today's time. And there he went to the palace of Annapurna. Annapurna was the goddess of food, and he went there and begged for food. So in a way, if you want to achieve anything, you have to go to a woman. That's how women were worshipped in ancient times. We also have a depiction of Lajja Gauri from say 1st century up to 3rd, 4th century. There might have been multiple of these sculptures, but today most of them are ruined or many of them were broken. Lajja Gauri was actually it showed a woman who was bent in her knees, and her lower body part was shown there. And so basically, we were worshipping the tomb of that woman as a symbol of fertility. So the that is one thing. So basically, women or goddesses are the one who provide us everything. So when we are talking about pleasure or happiness, these goddesses are these apsaras are basically a symbolism for happiness. And when we want to achieve happiness, we have to take help from some woman. So maybe that's the reason women were depicted here.
Wow,
There
that's
was
a
another
very
question.
Another question? Yes.
Yeah.
That question, the next question is, what is the oldest temple in the world?
Oldest Hindu temple, I guess the person wanted to ask because I don't know about other religion much. But oldest Hindu temple that survives today is one in the Sanchi. It's a place in Madhya Pradesh. And there is one temple in Sanchi, temple number 19, I guess. So the 4th or 5th century. Before that, the temples, I don't, because we don't know, we don't have much evidence about the existence of temple. Probably temples were made of wooden structure and they were made as a temporary basis. And this temple did not survive with time. But the oldest surviving temples today are mostly built with either brick work or the stone work. So temple number 19 in Sanchi or the Mundeshwara temple, these are made of stone. Or the temple of Trivikrama at Ter in Maharashtra, that is built by the terracotta bricks. So these are the oldest surviving temples. There are around 8 to 10 of these Gupta era temples that are in different parts of the country. Those are all from 4th century to 6th century. So these 8, 10 temples may be said to be the.
If you have any other questions, please keep them in the chat and we can answer them as we move on. But now I will ask my next question, which a different festival every day. We have so many reasons for celebration. So what are some common rituals practiced in temples and their significance in our religion?
Mm, yeah, so when we talk about the ritual that are performed in temples specifically, I will talk about some 3 or 4 rituals. One commonly observed ritual is the arti that we perform. Arti is basically we light a lamp and we put it in a plate, diya, and we just rotate it around the deity. And while doing that arti, we say some particular bhajans or particular song. Why do we sing these praises to deity or these songs? Yeah, it's basically a way, like I mentioned earlier, those stories from Ramayana, Mahabharata, Purans. They were meant to teach us something about our lives, some lessons that we need to learn. So similarly, these praises that we sing for the deity, they actually talk about some positive qualities of that deity. And when we are saying it, when we are listening it, we are supposed to understand these positive traits of that deity, and we are supposed to incorporate them in our lives. So that is the purpose of performing arti. We also perform abhishekam of deity. So that is a way of teaching us about hygienic practices, how one should take bath. So the way we are doing abhishekam of the deity, so we first pour water, we clean the body of the deity, then we pour some ghee or milk or curd, so panchamrit, that is how it's called, a mixture of 5 things. And then we wipe that again, then we again put water, and then we clean the deity. So that is a way that teaches us about how we should maintain hygiene of our own body. So when we are doing this abhishekam for the deity, we are also told that this is how you should take bath, you should wash your face, you should wash your body. So that is, I think that is the reason why Abhishekam ritual was created. We also have prasadam or naivedyam in temples. So we prepare some food, we first offer it to the deity, and then we offer it to people around us. So that is probably one way to bring ritual that offers food to those who are in need of it. So anyone who comes to temple receives prasadam. So if we visit the temple in Amritsar today, or the temple in Tirupati, the temple in Dwarka, so they actually have large community kitchens. So that is one way of offering prasad. Especially if you visit the South India temples, there is one particular element of that architecture. It is called as Balipitham. Balipitham is very commonly is represented by the Buddhist scholars or even many Indian researchers as a place for sacrificing an animal. It's a place for animal sacrifice. That's how many people talk about Balipitham. But the actual purpose of Balipitham is to offer food to animals or birds. See, Bali was a mighty king who resided in Tamil Nadu and who had done a lot of good work for his people. So there is a place created in his memory, and where everyone who is visiting temple puts some food on that particular basement or that particular place. So everyone puts some food at Balipita, and those birds who want to have food, uh, or the animals, the cows or dogs can come there and eat that food. So that's how prasadam actually is meant to be. There is also the practice of providing tirtham. Tirtham is actually liquid, kind of Ayurvedic liquid herb. We contains some herbs. So mostly tulsi or the basil. So basil leaves and they are mixed with water and that is offered as tirtham. So that is a way to provide us the Ayurvedic medicine kind of thing. So tulsi versus tulsi has a lot of medicinal value. So this tirtham is actually way of providing medicine to everyone who is visiting that temple. There is also practice of applying tilakam. Tilakam is like we apply some sandalwood, chandan, or turmeric at our forehead when we are visiting the temple. So again these elements like sandalwood or turmeric, they have lot of medicinal values for our body, for our skin. And when we are applying even a small portion on our forehead, on our skin, it gets absorbed by our skin into our body, and it provides its medicinal effects. So these most of these rituals are either connected to a scientific purpose or connected to a humanity purpose. So either of them.
That is so nice to hear, because sometimes the meaning for all of these rituals is lost, and then people treat them as more ritualistic things. They just sort of do it as, again, just because they think that is what you're supposed to do. But knowing that there's actually more reason and more logic behind them, it makes all of these actions have a much greater purpose. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing.
in fact, in my recent book, that is the Echoes of Heritage, I have written about many such cultural things, many such rituals, and what actually they mean. So there are a lot of articles about these topics. The book is available on Amazon in all parts of the world.
Wow, that surely sounds like a very interesting read. Okay. My final question now is, as a researcher, you must have seen and visited many different temple sites. So, do you have a favorite temple which you visited? And if so, why is it your favorite?
Actually, among all the temples that I visited, it's very difficult to pinpoint on one particular temple saying it's my favorite, because every time I visit a new temple, every time I visit a new place or new temple town, every time I'm learning something new, every time I'm understanding some new concept. So every temple becomes my favorite as I visit it. But to talk about some specific deity is in most human form. Of course, all of these deities have walked on the earth once upon a time. They are all humans in some way. But the Jagannath at Puri, the Krishna who is worshipped as Jagannath, is said is probably the most human form of the deity. Why? Because that deity goes through life, death, and again getting reborn every 12 years. So every 12 or 14 years, the old idol of that deity is discarded, and actually cremation is done on that idol, and new idol is placed there. So God also gets reborn again and again. The god here does all the routine things that we do, like brushing teeth or taking bath, and then wearing clothes according to the season. So if during the winter they will wear warm clothes, during summer they will wear loose clothes, so that kind of thing. The deity walks out of the temple. He roams on the city in a Rath Yatra that we see every year in Jagannath Puri. He visits a temple called Masima temple. Masi is aunt, the sister of your mom. She is called as Masi in Hindi. So the deity actually visits Masima temple. So he goes to visit his aunt. He stays there for a few days, then he comes back. After coming back, he also falls ill. So for 7 days, Krishna is taking rest because he's not feeling well. So all these rituals make Krishna a very human being there. And I think when we look at the deities as one of us, as a human form, then only we will be able to connect to them in a much refined way. So that is one temple that I find very fascinating. A second temple that I find fascinating is the Rameshwaram temple that is situated in Tamil Nadu. See, basically, Hinduism has a lot of different sects that, like you earlier talked in your introduction part. So there are different kind of rituals that different sects perform. Some sects are dedicated to Shiva; those are called Shaivism or Shaivas. Those dedicated to Vishnu are Vaishnavas. Those dedicated to Shakti are Shak. So Rameshwaram is a place where Shiva and Vaishnava come together. Shiva and Vishnu come together. The story behind that temple is when Ram was in Sri Lanka and he killed Ravan there. After killing Ravan, when he came back to homeland or the Indian soil, so Rameshwaram is situated at a point, the last point of India, while going to Sri Lanka. So when Ram came back, that Rameshwaram is the place where he took a halt, and there he created a shivling from the soil from the seashore, and he worshipped Shiva at that place. So Ram was an incarnation of Vishnu, and as an incarnation of Vishnu, he worshipped Shiva there. So that is a way connecting Shiva and Vishnu or Shiva and Vaishnava together. That is one way of bringing them together. Similarly, there is also another temple of Gopeshwar near Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh. So Vrindavan, like all of us know, was the place where Krishna had spent his childhood. And Krishna used to perform Ras Leela, cosmic dance with the gopis there. And Shiva was so fascinated by the dance, he wanted to be a part of that dance. But because no man was allowed in that dance apart from Krishna, Shiva had to take a form of a woman. He changed his gender, he changed his body, and he got in the body of a woman. And as a woman, he joined the dance, the Ras Leela. So there is a temple dedicated to that particular incident. So even that is very fascinating story because of the story associated with it. And of course, there is a lot of temples in every parts of country, every place, every district, every village. Those all of them are very fascinating to visit.
Wow, there are so many interesting stories behind the creation of these places, and I definitely am interested in learning more about the reasons for all of them. So thank you for sharing those main ones for now. Okay, we have another question. So
Ganga and Yamuna sculptures placed on the entrance. Yeah. See, the human existence, now I'm not talking about just Hindus, every human existence is dependent on water sources. And most of these water sources in earlier era, the rivers were the only source of water for us. Up till the 8th or 9th century. In 9th century, we started to create artificial lakes. Those are called as Pushkarni today. So these Pushkarnis or the artificial small temple tanks were created in the 8th century. But before that, the human existence was mostly dependent on rivers. And like I have mentioned, we used to worship these deities that give us energy in any form. So that's how Ganga, Yamuna, or the rivers were actually worshipped as a goddesses. And because they provided us the water to live, that's why they were respected on the walls. Why on the entrance? Because entrance is a place where we have to first clean ourselves before entering the temple. And Ganga and Yamuna being the river goddesses offering us water. So that was one way of symbolically providing us water to clean our bodies, clean our minds outside the temple before we enter the temple. And not just Ganga and Yamuna, even Tungabhadra or Krishna or Godavari, these rivers are also worshipped as goddesses in their respective parts of the country.
Yeah, that is a good reason for remembering at least the water sources that are able to give us life. So thank you.
Of building temples in different parts of country. Basically, when we talk about architecture style of a temple, we divide them on two aspects. One is the geographical location of that temple, and second is the time frame when that temple was built. So there were different elements, different architecture styles that were developed in different eras based on the political situation at that time, the availability of funds, availability of time, availability of resources to create these temples, and secondly, available geographical pattern. So if you visit places in, say, around the Deccan region, the Gili region, you will see a lot of cave temples because the cave, there were a lot of natural caves there that were created into a temple. If we visit the temple in south where a lot of them are on the flat land, so they would erect larger structures of stone there. If we visit the hilly regions, they will build small shrines that are made that are say that can withstand the rains that fall at that place. So based on these things, there are a lot of architecture difference. If you that will be a very vast topic if I start going around with every single. But yeah, see this temple model that I earlier showed. This is the Chalukyan style of the temple. This is same has been used in the recently built Ram temple at Ayodhya. So that is one style. There is another style of Cholas and Pandyas in the southern part, or Vijayanagas. They build different kind of architectural elements. They build different styles there. In Maharashtra as well, we see a lot of different styles, starting from Satavahanas in the first century to the Maratha warriors in the 7th. Yeah, so like I was saying, there are many differences in the architectural styles for different parts of different temples, and these are dependent on majorly two factors. First is the geographical location of the temple, and second is the time when that temple was built. So based on these two parts, there are different elements or different uh, architectural parts of these temples. If I start explaining each one of them, that would be a session of 4 or 5 hours, and that would be a very long topic. But yeah, basically, when you are visiting a temple, if we keep in mind these two points, the geographical location and time frame, we can understand the temple architecture in a much different way.
Of course, they're almost like small time capsules reflecting the conditions of the period in
Yeah.
which they were built. Wow, there's so much that we can learn from them. Okay, if there are no final questions, we can perhaps wrap up the session.
Yeah.
Oh,
There, no, there are many questions now.
okay, perfect. So that is everything for today. Thank you very much for. Oh, okay.
There is
We got
no
one
question.
final
Yeah.
question. When visiting the temple, apart from the main deity, is there anything else we should make an effort to see?
Uh, definitely, there are a lot of things that one has to make efforts. In fact, I say the deity is just 5% of the temple that we explore. 95% is everything apart from the deity, apart from the Garbhagriha. So, like I earlier mentioned in this particular interview, there are the sculptures on the walls. There are different sculptures that are built on the pillar. There are different rituals that are performed in that temple. There are different historical aspects of that temple. We should also understand all these things. My specialty is in sculptures. I study sculptures in lot of details. So my first attention goes to the sculptures of the temple. I try to capture, see, understand, analyze every single sculpture in the temple. When my son visits the temple, he likes to see the facial expression on people around him, and he tries to understand them, understand this expression, and does psychological aspects rather. So yeah, these are the different aspects that one has to make efforts to understand and analyze when visiting a temple.
Amazing. Okay, thank you very much. So this has been a truly insightful session, and I have been really, really happy that I was able to learn so many new things from the whole idea that the idol is not the main part of the whole temple experience, but it is just the beginning. It is just the starting gate for you to explore the wider sort of society, the wider implications of living right now. So that was really good for me to see. One more question.
Yeah.
Okay. It is not comfortable to do. Okay. Is there
Yeah.
any significance of doing sadhanas in different places apart from the temple?
See, sadhana is a practice that is not at all uh, dependent on the place where you are performing it. Because sadhana or meditation is basically what you do for your inner deity. And your inner deity is always inside you, no matter where you are. So if you are sitting in a temple, if you are sitting in a home, if you are sitting in a garden, if you are sitting in a market, it makes really no difference. But yeah, why people prefer to do sadhana in a temple? There is one particular reason for that. See, every single human being has an energy associated with himself or herself, and that we call as aura, that is a circle of energy around us. So, like every human being has an energy circle that might be positive, might be negative, depending on the perspective of that person. Similarly, every institution or every building or every monument also has an energy of its own. So every home will have energy that might be a positive energy, might be a negative energy. Every college, every classroom has an energy. See, we often say about vibe, V-I-B, vibe, the word. So sometimes we get positive vibes about a place, sometimes we get negative vibes about a place. So these vibes are actually how we experience energy of that place. And when you are visiting a temple, when you are inside a temple is usually said to be a positive place because of all the rituals performed there, because of all the hygiene being maintained there, because of all the people who visit there with a positive mindset. So because of that, the energy of the temple also gets converted into a positive aura. And because there is a lot of positive aura associated with the temple, so that's why people prefer to do sadhana inside a temple, so that their energy will already be on a positive side when they are performing sadhana. When one visits a temple, he absorbs the positive energy from the temple, and that makes his own aura a lot very positive. And that's why sadhana becomes, or the focus of meditation becomes very easier. So that's why it's said good to be doing sadhana inside a temple, but it's not a rule. You can perform sadhana anywhere.
Of course, and that idea of absorbing positive energy is probably reflected in how peaceful you feel after going to the temple. So,
Exactly.
again, making sense. Amazing. So that is now time for the end of the session. So alongside thanking you for your time, Dr. Dinesh, I would like to also say a big thank you to the Sadhak team and also everyone at Edinburgh University Hindu Society for all of the planning and preparation that's done behind the scenes to make this possible. And most importantly, I want to thank all of you guys, the audience, for staying with us throughout this learning journey. This would not have been possible without you. And if you have any further questions or would like to find out more after this session, please find Dr. Dinesh's content on his Instagram and YouTube channels titled Indian Temples, Research and Media Services. And as we talked about in the session, he has released a new book called The Echoes of Heritage. So please do go find it on Amazon for an amazing read. Please do look out, all the viewers, for further sessions that we will have planned in the Hinduism and Pilgrimage series. And thank you very much for coming. Have a wonderful day ahead. Namaste.
Yeah.